Thank you very much. I just want to introduce the people that's up here with me. These are our FEMA counterparts. Right here, this is Bob Fenton, who is the head of FEMA Region 9, the decision-making guy, and of course, Ann also is the Assistant Secretary for FEMA Disaster. And of course, you know my Lieutenant Governor, and Sam, who is our DHS advisor. Chuck Esteves, who is running the EOC. EOC is our Emergency Operations Center. You know my tag, Mike Cruz, who's National Guard, and General Farreau, who is in dual status command here, Admiral Nicholson, and then this is Colonel Watkins, who is the Defense Coordinating Officer. Sam is the Territorial Coordinating Officer, and is Byrne here?
Oh, there he is.
Byrne, who is the Federal Coordinating Officer. I just want to begin by saying thank you to our viewing audience, and thank you for the media for this opportunity to address you and to give you some very on-time update of our recovery. I also want to take this time to thank the people of Guam for heeding my instructions to stay safe. I want to thank you for protecting your families, and I want to thank you for your patience as we recover. This is day 4 of the typhoon recovery, and at day 4, I am very grateful that we have not covered or have not have no casualties. Actually, it's a great impression, I think, in the way we are resilient people and in the way that we prepare and plan for this devastating typhoon. I also want to say, because of you, it is a great cooperation to have you and to make sure that we are recovering. As I said, we are on day 4. And one of the things that I want to start from the very beginning, because we see people out there anxious, stressed, angry, upset. And one of the issues, of course, is fuel. I want to make it very clear to the people of Guam that we do not have a fuel shortage. What we experience is a delay in the distribution. I have just been from a meeting with the carriers of our gasoline and fuel, and they are opening up gas stations as we speak. They are moving tankers out as we speak, and they're trying to serve our community as best as they can. My ask of you is to be civil out there, to be orderly out there, to use our island values of kindness, understanding, and helping our neighbors, because we need to do this together. So I ask, as we recover in this next few days, in this next few weeks, to please be patient. We are doing everything, like I said, humanly possible. We have our federal partners here to help us. We have our military partners here to help us. We have the President of the United States to help us. He has approved 3 of my requests. 1, to declare pre-landfall emergency. So he did that. As a result, we could have FEMA people on the ground. He approved my request for major disaster. And as a result of that, we are now able to get direct assistance from the federal government. He has now approved my request for individual assistance. That is very key, because now our individual people that have suffered devastation of their homes, interrupted their lives, can now apply through FEMA for individual assistance. That's a great, significant approval from the President. And so I just want to say, to assure the people of Guam, all resources are on deck to help you. On the issue of the water is being gradually pushed out to our people. I hear more villages are going on. I hear more people telling me they have water. It is trickling and slowly coming in, so I ask you to conserve so we can all share whatever water resources that we have for our people. In the issue of power, again, power as I see it is gradually coming up. Every night, I see more lights in our island. And I know that they are methodically powering up. According to John Beneventi, there are 26 substations, and he is now 76% firing, heating those substations. As a result of that, he can then energize the feeders to those substations that then goes out to the residents and our village residents. So please, again, be very patient. We know your struggles. We are working as fast as we can. Trash is another issue. And so now all trash is going to be collected, regardless if you are a paying customer or not. So there is a schedule that's going to be put out, which is the regular trash schedule. And on those days, identifies the villages. So if you are a resident of a village that is going to be picked up on Monday, put your trash out on Monday. And make sure it's contained in protective, safe containment, because we don't want dogs to be going through the trash, because it will create a public health emergency or a public health situation. Transfer stations, no fees on transfer stations for at least the next 2 weeks. So please, go out, clean your yards, clean your homes, get the trash out so we can again turn to some normalcy as we move along with our recovery. Green waste, we have pushed out, I think, the distribution of those waste collection sites. Again, want to emphasize that it is only for green waste. So do not bring your metallics, do not bring your white goods, do not bring your household trash, because it will be turned away. I think those are the major issues, right, that we wanted to inform you. Every day it's going to get better. Every day we are recovering as fast as we can. There are going to be disaster relief centers or recovery centers that's going to be stood up by American Red Cross and FEMA. And this is where people can go to apply for the individual assistance, or you can apply online with the FEMA website. And if you can start doing it online, that's even better. I know communications was an issue too. And believe me, that was my biggest frustration during the disaster and immediately after the disaster. I understand where you're coming from, and I understand your frustration, but it is also getting better. Now my calls are not dropped on my first word, they're only dropped at my last sentence. So that's a sign of good progress. Just joking, communications people, really, we love you. I also want to thank the media. I know radio stations have been down, but throughout the disaster, some tried to stay up as long as they could. And I know in past typhoons that radio stations had a very calming effect on people, because they pushed out the information and people knew exactly where the typhoon is. People knew exactly the intensity of the typhoon. That was down too, but we are gradually again putting up our communications. Those are the main concerns I think that we have out there. Water, power, trash, debris. We are picking up the debris. All the roads, main roads, are passable on the first day, because when I went out to make my windshield tour, I was able to go through those roads, those major roads. I want to thank DPW. I want to thank the mayors also for helping out in their various villages, clearing up the roads. So trash, we went through trash, communications, debris, fuel, power, water. I think we've covered most of that. If there are any questions, let's have them after the Lieutenant Governor and Bob Fenton say a few words. And I also have Admiral Nicholson here. If you have any questions for Admiral Nicholson or any of the panels out here, please feel free to ask. I'll turn this over now to the Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Governor. I also want to say to the people of Guam that in our history, we have gone through so many adversities and we always come back. We're known as some of the most resilient people on this planet. And a lot of that has to do with the sense of community and the sense of responsibility that we have for each other. And so this is the time to make friends with your neighbors or recover friendships that were lost and check on people as much as you can, people who need help. Every little bit counts. I just wanted to update you folks on the situation in the business community. The Bureau of Planning and Statistics has already started their preliminary business sector disaster damage assessments. And they have reached 232 businesses so far, with more effort tomorrow and the following day. But so far, from just those 232 businesses, we have $48.3 million of damage already. That includes nearly $30 million in damage to buildings, $17.7 million in damage to essential equipment, and $688,000 worth of damage to merchandise. So as you know, the President's declaration has opened a whole bunch of pipelines for help to the business community that will be led by a team of federal authorities led by the Small Business Administration. Gov Guam will be doing preliminary damage assessments on all their facilities. The Guam Department of Education will also do the same thing. And our Guam Environmental Protection Agency is doing damage assessments to our rivers, our streams, our coastlines, our natural resources. Those are all efforts that are required for us to identify all the priorities for us to respond to for the period of recovery. I just wanted to say that we're very privileged that the Region 9 Administrator is a longtime friend of Guam. Mr. Fenton Bob Fenton, who you'll hear from next, has actually been on site. He was in Guam when Typhoon Mawar hit. He was part of the closeout of the Typhoon Paka Public Assistance Program. He has a very keen interest in this part of the region, and we're very grateful that he has that experience since he has been tapped for many projects by the President. And so you can be assured that the needs of Guam are being communicated to our leaders in the capital and throughout the country. And so it's my privilege to pass on to Mr. Fenton.
Thanks, Governor. Well, I'm honored to be here in Guam today to fulfill our mission, which is helping people. Also, on Memorial Day, I just wanted to say I appreciate all those military members that we've served and we've lost over the years, and appreciate everything they do. You can't have a greater group of military support here than in Guam. And since prior to the storm, I've been coordinating with Admiral Nicholson, Indo-PACOM, and a bunch of other members to not only get resources in here before the storm, but immediately respond after the storm. And I appreciate the leadership and dedication I've seen since arriving from Governor Guerrero. Everyone in the Guam Office of Homeland Security and Homeland Defense and across the government of Guam has been amazing. And I'm here today joined by not only myself from Region 9, but our Ann Bink, who's our Associate Administrator of Disaster Response and Recovery and runs disasters for the whole country for FEMA, along with Jeff Dorco, our Head of Logistics, and many other senior leaders from FEMA. As Josh said, I've been coming to disasters now since 1997 in Guam, and I was here for Typhoon Mawar. And I look back at that, and I think Typhoon winds ended Friday, right? And here we are on Monday. when I look back to Punk Samwa, we didn't have any power up. We didn't have fuel lines because we had no fuel because the fuel tanks were on fire. So we are way beyond where we are at that event on responding to this event. And much of that goes to a lot of the hardening and critical infrastructure protection that's happened over the years here on Guam, especially to the utility company, to Guam Power Authority, but also all the hard work by government of Guam and all the different federal agencies you see around me has been amazing over the years of what they've done and shows in how we're responding to this event. As the governor said, the president declared a major disaster declaration for Guam, talking about to provide individual assistance, public assistance, and hazard mitigation. I'll talk a little bit more about individual assistance. It'll really be important to individuals that had losses. It includes grants for homeowners and renters for loss of property, damage to homes, vehicles, and other necessities. It also includes low disaster loans for renters through SBA and homeowners and businesses of all sizes. These programs are now available, even as FEMA and territorial government work around the clock to restore portable water, electricity, internet around the island. There are really 4 ways to apply for the individual assistance program. They can visit the disasterassistance.gov website. Due to the time differences here in Washington, D.C. And here, it may take a couple of hours for the system to come online, as the president just declared it early this morning. So go ahead and work on that site, and if you can get to the internet, it's a really easy way to apply. If not, you can use the 1-800 number, 1-800-621-3362, 1-800-621-FEMA. And our past experience in disasters here is that this is a toll-free call, so there should be no charge to those making calls here on Guam. And you can get one of our teleregisters, and they will help you apply online. You can also download our FEMA app and use that to register for help. And in the coming days, as the governor said, we'll set up disaster recovery centers throughout the island where we can directly help individuals. But start with, if you have insurance, go through your insurance, then register for FEMA. And then the Disaster Recovery Center will have multiple Gov Guam agencies and federal agencies there that have different available programs to offer kind of a one-stop shop to help individuals there. If you have damage to your home, you can begin emergency repairs right now if you can. I already see some of that happening. I was touring some of the northern area. So please do that. Make sure you stay safe though. Chainsaws can be dangerous. Do not wait for a FEMA inspector. Simply take pictures, document the damage, keep your receipts, and take actions you need to protect your property, right? If you need to put a tarp over it to stop rain from getting in there, do that. And then we will be there with an inspector once you register to go look at the damages sustained. With travel challenges to Guam, it will take a couple of days for our inspectors to get here. Once you've registered, though, we should be having people out pretty quick. And until then, we appreciate your patience. We have over 500 personnel working this event right now, with over a couple hundred from FEMA on island and more than 300 FEMA personnel back in other offices working to support Guam. And then there's not only hundreds, but thousands of other federal agency personnel respond to this event. A big response from the Department of Defense and has brought many resources to bear. And we're going to prioritize those and make sure those get out and make a difference in not only the response, but the recovery to Guam. Some of those that we'll be leveraging is Department of Defense. We leveraged their air and sea lift already and moving stuff and critical commodities, life-saving commodities. Disaster medical teams are here. One's at Guam Memorial. Other ones will be going out. The 249th Power Battalion's here. They'll be hooking up emergency generators. They're already assessing the water wells, and we'll look to do that to get as much back online temporarily as permanent power comes online. We'll also be leveraging DoD to do a lot of other missions. They have amazing CBs here and other personnel that, as we do emergency repairs or temporary roofing or do other projects, they will be part of that with the Corps of Engineers, to include how we can help with debris clearing. They've already helped with opening critical routes, and we'll use them to leverage to help everything that Guam's doing, the mayors, Guam Public Works, and other agencies that are doing. So one team, one fight. The Department of Energy is working closely with Guam Power Authority to return power back online. We just met with the fuel companies, as Guam said, and Department of Energy. Shelters remain open in Guam, and yesterday we delivered food and water to all shelters. And today we're delivering pallets of water to each mayor's office, and also supporting the residents in Rhoda, as there's also a declaration over in CNMI, and we sent food and water over there on a Coast Guard C-130, and also providing other resources over there that they need. And while commercial air traffic restarts, cargo flights have arrived and continue to arrive, and have been arriving since Saturday, with blood products, cleanup kits, work gloves, trash bags, comfort kits, hygiene products, generators, specialized teams, and much more. And that's just the beginning. We have more flights coming in and more resources coming. One of the key things FEMA is doing, and our programs cover a lot of assistance to individuals and to public entities, but it's really a big team that includes nonprofits and includes private sector. And the nonprofits are critical, and the voluntary agencies that work with us in disasters to support humanitarian aid. Team Rubicon's here. They deployed a team to Guam to coordinate and help. Salvation Army is in partnership with the Southern Baptist and disaster teams. They're also deployed here to Guam. Amazon Disaster Relief is delivering donations and water filters, mosquito netting, and other essential items. Catholic Charities is supporting 3 different online shelters. The Buddhist Suchi Foundation is collaborating with local restaurants to identify and help with feeding. And of course, American Red Cross, which is a great partner of FEMA's and everyone in the country. And their hotline is operational at 1-800-RED-CROSS, 1-800-733-2767. For anyone trying to reach friends or relatives who are on island, Red Cross volunteers are also on island helping shelters and feeding missions. The National Disaster Distress Helpline remains activated, and anyone who is affected by Typhoon Mawar can phone the 1-800-985-5990 for immediate counseling and support. And the Corps of Engineers not only have the 249th, but have deployed teams here to focus on not only temporary power, but emergency roofing, debris removal, and additional personnel are providing public works and engineering technical assistance. As I said earlier, I just want to end with a safety message to all the residents here who begin cleanup. Need to wear protective clothing and wear appropriate face covering or masks when cleaning mold or other debris. Make sure to take pictures of any of the damage in your home for insurance purposes that I talked about, and wear protective face coverings. Residents using power generators should always use them outside to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ann Bink to talk about some of the national support from headquarters.
All right, thank you very much, Bob, and good afternoon. I'm Ann Bink. I'm the Associate Administrator for Response and Recovery at FEMA. I arrived in Guam about 48 hours after the storm made landfall with Bob Fenton, the Regional Administrator. I was sent here on behalf of Deanne Criswell, the FEMA Administrator, who made this a priority. It is a priority personally for me as a leader of response and recovery for the nation. It is a priority for the Administrator, and it's a priority for the administration. The President approved quickly 3 disaster declarations today, individual assistance, which has been the thing we've heard since I've been on the ground, right? We've been in the north, the community most impacted by the storm, and we saw lots of vulnerable communities and folks that were looking for assistance. Today, that's a reality. Just like Bob said, call, register online. It bears repeating. The number to call to register for assistance for uninsured losses is 1-800-621-3362. Again, it's 1-800-621-3362. Now, you may be saying to yourself, I don't have cell service yet, or it's still a little spotty. We're going to send teams out to your door. We are going to set up disaster recovery centers. So you have a one-stop shop where not only can you get assistance for FEMA, but also through the Small Business Administration, Red Cross, and many others. We're stronger as we're braided together, and the fabric of disaster recovery is such that it requires all of our interagency personnel at the federal level, where we have tremendous support from our partners, including DoD, Health and Human Services, EPA, USACE. Across the board, tremendous support. But I really want to say to you, Governor, thank you for your leadership. And thank you. The moment we got off the plane, the governor wanted to meet with us and said, we got to do this. We got to bring everything to bear that we can to support recovery of communities in Guam that are impacted by this storm. So thank you for your leadership. Lieutenant Governor, your passion, your compassion for communities, your message on vulnerable communities, I want to amplify. There's folks in all of our communities throughout the island that are vulnerable. They may be older, they may have medical needs, they may be homebound. Please check on your neighbors, please check on your friends, and please raise up any concerns you have. We will be out there in communities registering folks for individual assistance, but we'll also be there as a lifeline. We have our nonprofit partners here. Thank you to them as well. They're meeting the needs that federal government may not be able to fill. Maybe you don't fully get reimbursed for all your losses for many reasons. The Red Cross is here to help, the Salvation Army, Team Rubicon. Together, we're stronger. We're all stronger together. This is one team, one fight. And I've seen it with my own eyes, the resilience of the communities within Guam. In the north, we visited a shelter today. People are more resilient than I've ever seen in any community, and I've seen many communities because we've had a lot of disasters lately. Very struck by it. Very struck by the actions that government took to make the infrastructure more resilient since the last big typhoon. And it shows. Those power poles are still standing, and power is coming back online because of it. So thank you all for all you do collectively to bring everything we have to bear to this. The full force of the federal family, the full force of our nonprofit sector, state government, local mayors. We met with all the mayors. They are the lifeline supporting this recovery at the community level. We're in this together. Please call, register for assistance, and tell us what you need. We're here for you. It's 1-800-621-3362. Again, it's 1-800-321-621-3362. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fenton, and thank you so much, Ms. Ann Binks. I want to open the floor now to questions from members of our media, starting with Polly from Buenos Guam.
Mr. Fenton, when can we expect the disaster centers to open and where?
Yeah, we're looking at a number of locations right now, working with the village mayors, and looking anywhere from 3 to 6 initially opening sometime over the next week. And we also want to offer some mobile options to get to maybe hard to reach areas and those kind of things. I think one of the good things is even though there's 19 villages here and we're looking at maybe 3 to 6 to start with, is having those mobile options. And then as Ms. Ambing talked about, is actually we have employees that will actually go into areas and register people at site. Really the Disaster Recovery Center is where you start having questions or other services and you start the registration process and you maybe need a little help, a little special assistance. That's when you want to go to those locations. So we'll be announcing them in the next couple of days and getting them out there. In the meantime, we want to start building registrations and get the number out there and have people start to register.
And then just to follow up, we have multi-generational families. Is the individual assistance the way that multi-generational families can get assistance, or should the head of household be the one that goes to the to the disaster center, recovery center, to file all their grievances within the household?
Yeah, so we'll work through that. The person who is the head of household for that address should register. In some cases, maybe if the legal person, the legal U.S. citizen is maybe not the head of household, we could register underneath that individual. In some cases, and if there are multi-generations there, they need to let us know that. Our assistance is focused not only on damages to the house, but damages to contents and those kind of things. So once we get an inspector out there, we could go through the uniqueness of each case and work through those.
And then just one more. some of the uniquenesses are the owner of the house is off island. How will that work out?
They could register from off island.
Okay.
And then nothing prevents that. If they are a primary homeowner or a renter here and they sustain damages from this storm, they can register from anywhere.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Before we proceed with questions, I apologize. I want to give the floor now to Rear Admiral Nicholson for some remarks.
Thank you very much. We are in very much a partnership, as Bob said, with FEMA, and as the governor and lieutenant governor said, we all work together. So when an event like this happens, one of the first people that I talk to is the governor. And just like she said, I was very frustrated that we couldn't talk. We had some problems, and so we actually sent a person with a radio so we could communicate to each other as we were recovering from the storm. But we're working very hard. Our bases sustained quite a bit of damage as well. So we've got a lot of work that's going on inside the base. But in the first 72 hours under our immediate response authorities, we had folks outside of the bases helping to clear routes and do some other work that we were able to do. And so we're postured and we're ready to do some more work. But again, we're also constantly working right now, both inside the bases to get some things done there too, because we took quite a bit of hit to our infrastructure. But we'll continue to work together. And as said before, we get through together. There is no more people anywhere in the world that are more resilient than the people here on Guam, and I'm so glad to be a part of this community as we work to get through this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Admiral. We'll resume the Q&A round. Bill from Post, you had a question?
Governor, you mentioned that you expect there to be improvements in the coming days and the coming weeks. In your estimation, how long will it take for the island to have 100% of its power generation restored and 100% of its drinking water reserves back up online?
So we have posed that question to GWA and GPA, and they're targeting at least at the end of the month, about maybe 4 to 6 weeks. But before that, they're expecting maybe 85%. We cannot say 100%, Phil, because there's going to be when we say 100%, inevitably there'll be somebody from way in a place that we couldn't reach out saying, no, Governor, it's not 100%, it's 99.9% because my household still doesn't have electricity, right? So we don't want to raise that expectation of 100%, but the rate that they are going, I am going to say I expect it to have most of the water and the power within 3 weeks,
And
3 to 4 weeks.
I'm sure you've noticed that there are still, despite the high demand and the very hard effort it takes to get gas, that there are lots of people on the road.
Yes.
At last count, the National Guard had about 23 intersections manned, but only in the daytime. Are you expecting to increase that number, increase the coverage? I noticed on the drive here, for instance, the intersection of Route 4, Chalan-Sanopapa, at Agana Shopping Center, which is heavily used, was not manned by a crossing guard, for instance.
Right. So probably Mike can speak more to that in terms of the National Guard, but I have activated the National Guard, and we have about 202 actually a total of 321, but 202 have been already activated. These guards are also going to be monitoring our waste collection sites. So we're trying to move our resources into areas of priority. And of course, traffic control is a priority. One of the other, and that's why probably that you'll see some of the traffic control not being manned, but we are working to get traffic lights on with generators. I just met with DPW, and they are going to be trying to get these traffic lights in the main intersections, so then our human resources can go to other areas that need monitoring. And so, but I do have to say, Phil, that right after the typhoon, a day after, we've had those traffic controls out there, which to me was an amazing thing to do right after a day after the traffic. So again, we're not manning them 24 hours, but we're manning them in the high peak hours where most of the traffic would occur.
But will we increase the number of intersections between, I guess, in the next few days or weeks?
I'm hoping the electrical powers would get up, and I'm hoping that the traffic lights would come on. But yes, in those priority areas where traffic is much more active and congested, we are going to make sure that there are going to be traffic control officers there.